The next stop for the family was a tenement flat in Robertson Street, Greenock, in Scotland. Dad had been posted to Scotland as adjutant to the Royal Artillery Territorial Army Regiment based in Greenock. Family life in the Robertson Street tenement flat. Bath time in the kitchen sink. So proud of my cowboy outfit. And of course our must-have Davy Crockett hats. Our first television, on which the first programme we saw was Andy Pandy. And in case you were wondering, the toilet was a shared one out in the courtyard. I went to the local nursery school and loved every minute of it, so much so that one day I arrived to find the doors were locked. Thinking that I was late and that Miss Frances had locked the door to stop a wandering Alsatian from getting in, I sat down and cried. Within minutes, Miss Frances arrived to open up. I was early. We moved to Carmichael Street, a new semi-detached house recently built for army personnel. One day Elizabeth and I were playing in the street. It was windy, and a newspaper came flying towards us from nowhere. I grabbed it, and then between us we had such fun screwing up each piece and stuffing it down a drain. When we had finished, an out-of-breath man came running round the corner. "Have you seen my newspaper?" he asked. We both stood there with our arms behind our backs, innocently shaking our heads, and he continued to run down the road after his paper. On a trip to Woolworths, I noticed 2 picture cards on the floor in front of a counter, and I picked them up and took them home. Later Mum found me with them and asked me where I got them. The picture on the cards was of a Mr. Gillette, and she opened one up to reveal a razor blade. They had obviously fallen off the counter, and I was told that this was stealing. I can remember a few nights spent wondering if the noise of approaching cars and their headlights were the police coming for me. I enjoyed going to the Ardgowan Primary School with all its formality. For example, the whole class reciting tables together each day. I was always first, second or third in the class, which might explain why I enjoyed the experience, alternating with 2 girls named Anne and June. So we 3 always sat in the back row of the classroom in the right-hand corner. However, at the end of the school year, I saw another side of it all. Our teacher explained that we were all to move up a class, and that we were about to follow her into the next room. We followed her into the corridor, where suddenly she told us all to stop. She then singled out a girl named Susan and proceeded to make an example of her, saying that she had not worked hard enough, and so she had to stay down. It struck me as a very cruel thing to do. I was quite taken with my newfound ability to write, so I decided to write out the whole Gospel of Luke. However, I managed only the first 4 verses. But I also got in with the wrong crowd. A tearaway named Ian, who lived in the flats over the road from the school, persuaded me to go to his home. The lollipop man was on duty, but Ian ignored him and dashed through the traffic. I was following Ian, but the lollipop man stopped me with 1 foot over the curb. The next day the lollipop man appeared in our classroom, and after a word with our teacher, pointed the 2 of us out. Ian seemed unconcerned, but I was petrified. Down we went to the headmaster, who said something about being surprised at me, but not so surprised about Ian's behaviour. I vividly remember being taken into hospital to have my tonsils removed, not one of my happiest memories. I had the indignity of being placed in a cot in a general ward and not being allowed anything to read or to play with for 3 days, except for a jigsaw puzzle of the Pied Piper which Mum had given me. No one was allowed to visit me, and I remember the cold corridor in which 7 or 8 of us waited for the operation, and hearing the cries of the latest tonsil-less child waking up from anaesthetic. And to add insult to injury, when 7:30 came one evening and my favourite television programme Wacko came on, I was wheeled behind the television. I had a friend who was a naval officer's son. When we were at nursery school, we played cowboys and Indians in his wigwam. 2 years later, when we were at infant school, we decided to do so again, and were very surprised when we found that we were now too big for the tent. My best friend was Jimmy, who lived with his mother in the basement of a nearby house. He was obviously very poor. Our birthdays were on the same day, and after my party, to which 12 or so friends came, I went back to his house to play. That was his party. The toys I most appreciated at this age were a small metal jet plane that I was bought when we went on holiday to Ireland, a black and white Rupert book which was given when I was convalescing after some illness, and my first Meccano set, set 1, which I woke up to find one Christmas morning. I was so intrigued with it that I so wanted to be able to make all the models in the instruction book. Next year I was bought set 1A, which made my existing set into set 2, with a whole lot more designs to make. And so this went on year by year. Great fun. Grandpa Whiteman built me a 2 by 1 foot chest to keep all my Meccano tidy. Another prized possession was a kit with real miniature bricks and water-based cement, which was used to build a number of house designs onto blueprint plans. Doors, windows and roofs were also supplied. Whenever Dad went away on an army exercise, he would bring back a dinky army vehicle for me. I kept all these most carefully in a small brown leather suitcase. It was at this time that Mum gave birth to Rosemary, who sadly died within a few days of being born. As was the custom in those days, Elizabeth and I were protected, which actually meant we were excluded from our parents' grief. While we were staying at Marston Trussell Rectory, Grandfather Henry found birds nesting in a graveyard vase. This picture was taken by a local press photographer. I also remember the severe whacking that I got from Dad when I had ventured down to the forbidden esplanade in Greenock with another friend. We walked down one of the slipways and proceeded to slip on the seaweed near the water's edge. Having eventually made our way back to safety, we hastily made our way home in our water-filled shoes, only to be met by our parents. Dad's anger was probably justified, as he had recently been part of a search party for a boy whose body was eventually dredged up in the Clyde. In the summer of 1958, I had my 7th birthday, and we were preparing to move to Dad's new posting in London. At the end of my last day at the Ardgowan, I was walking home with a woolly ball that I had made. An older boy named Douglas, who was a bit weird, snatched it from me and tore it apart.
Taking it slow.